again. This is Dr. Natalie Lenore Blackman with Abiding in the Secret Place. And this is me doing my amateur videos or amateur recordings, short segments, in hopes that I am able to bring some revelation into how we reach a state of divine health and where we can abide in the secret place amidst all the turmoil and the chaos and the crazy things that are happening in the external environment around us. So I wanted to continue the talk that I was previously going over regarding time. We talked about seeds and we talked about seed, time, and harvest. Every prototype that God designed for the earth, He designed it to follow that prototype, which is planting seeds, allowing time for those seeds to grow, and then to produce a harvest, whatever that harvest may be. And I wanted to touch a little bit more on the importance of time according to seasons, and time and how it affects the body. And that has to do with the fact of why I got into Chinese medicine. I am a holistic Chinese veterinary medicine practitioner. And the way that I got into this particular field was because of the study of the seasons and how it affects the body. And a little background would be, as a emergency critical care veterinarian, we would see many things coming in at the same time. You know, we would have what we would call like groups of emergencies based on the times of year. So we may have like a seizure season, or we may have a vomiting and diarrhea season. That one was really fun. Or we may just have kidney failures. A bunch of those would come in back to back. And it just didn't make sense to me, because there's no explanation in traditional medicine as to why that would occur. And so I would try to figure out, like, had whatever area I'm in, had they just released more fluoride into the water, or were the pets all eating something bad in their food, you know, and just couldn't really ever put two and two together. It seemed like, you know, no one had any answers for why this was happening until I was introduced to traditional Chinese medicine, and I found out about how they treat according to seasons. And I'm going to show you my little chart here, because this is a very amateur video, okay? One day I'll look back at these and laugh, but again, it's imperative for me to get in on this time, even if I am in no way prepared, and I may have a cat on my lap here. So these are the seasons according to the Chinese calendar. And this was the one that I was talking about. This is spring, okay? So this is what I call the reset button. And this is the liver element and the gallbladder element. And so the idea is that each season, this organ or group of organs, the yin and the yang organ, the liver and the gallbladder, they, if they're balanced, then the body will continue to remain in harmony through this season. But if they are unbalanced, we will begin to see symptoms, okay? So guess what season this is? Yes, some people first want to say allergies. That is a big one, but this is seizure season, okay? Because in Chinese medicine, they have determined that seizures arise from the liver, and they're absolutely correct. I mean, this has been amazing information I have found over the years. But so this is the spring season, okay? And if this liver, I call him the general of the body, if he is not happy we say, ain't nobody happy. So if this liver is unbalanced and we begin to go into summer, which is the heart season and the small intestine, and then we go into earth, or the end of the summer, which is earth, the spleen and the stomach, and then we go into the fall, which is the lungs and the large intestine, and then we go into the winter, which is the kidney and the bladder. So if we're off here, you can see how it's going to affect the rest of the year, okay? And then there's actually something within here called the co-cycle, and these are showing controls. And then if you have an unhealthy organ, you can get what's called a destructive co-cycle, and they can go in reverse, okay? So this is very important. One of the most important things I have ever learned in my entire life. And from this, the Father introduced me to the Hebrew calendar. And he has shown me over the last 10 years that he is very much put this system into place for healing for the body. Okay? And so what I want to tie this into, I know this, it seems maybe I'm talking a lot, is time. So there's a time and a season, okay, for us to work through healing in the body, for us to work through healing in the soul, and for us to work through healing in the spirit. And in the spring, we are going to work again on the liver and the gallbladder. And that emotion, is we talked about previously, was irritability, anger, frustration, irritation. I put resentment in there, and I put bitterness in there as well. And so those are the emotions that we want to root out of the garden this month. And we want to plant new seeds in the garden this month and this season. And I wanted to go back to the seeds that I was sowing today. There is a specific time that you sow seeds. So this is a time that we sow lettuce, and actually it's really a month or so ago, but we can still sow lettuce into the ground. But lettuce and chard and the kale and like the colder loving green leafy vegetables. But there's also a very fine window for those flowers that I was putting into the soil today. And so those flowers have a certain time, and then I've got another group of flowers that I will put in about 4 weeks, and those flowers have a specific time. So the time, again, the seed, the time, and the harvest is very important. There's a window when we plant the seed, okay, so that's time again. So there's a window to put seed in the ground. And then there's the time frame to wait for the seed to become the harvest. And these little flowers here, you can't hardly see them, but they're at their end of their life cycle. And but they are the harvest of the seed, and they had a time in between to grow. Okay, so we've got to remember that what we put in to that soil, we're gonna have to nurture. We're gonna have to till the garden. We're gonna have to pluck up the weeds. We're gonna have to make sure this pest don't kill what we're growing, okay? And I'm giving this analogy because I want us to think of our bodies that way. That everybody says this, the Bible verse that our body is a temple, right? But our body is a vessel. You know, our body was made originally from dirt. It's a vessel, and within the vessel lies the soul, which houses the mind, the will, and the emotions. and also houses the spirit. Okay, so in that vessel, we are responsible. We're responsible for what we put into the vessel. We're talking about the food, water, the supplements. What we put into the vessel is important. That's in the natural sense. But what we put into the vessel in the supernatural sense, for lack of a better word, through the spirit, is going to come through our eye gate and our ear gate. Okay? And so as we're working on this garden, and as we're walking through the seasons, and as we're learning about the time, we have to remember that we are responsible for the time between the seed and the harvest, okay? And when we put the seed in the ground, and what I hope you're wanting is the same as what I'm wanting. I'm wanting the good seeds. I'm wanting to produce a harvest of peace, of love, of self-control. Those are the fruits that I want to produce. Now, when I put my seeds in, I'm responsible for the soil, okay? And so that soil is, if I'm trying to produce a harvest of peace, and I'll talk about this in the next session, if I'm trying to produce a harvest of peace, then what goes in my eye gate and my ear gate needs to be in agreement with my seed, okay? So I can't plant a seed in my soil and just allow for nature to take its course and expect to have a great harvest. I'm gonna have to tend it, right? I have to kind of check on it and give it water and some organic, fertilizer, and I'm gonna have to tend to it to see the production of my fruit or my flowers. And I want us to be thinking that way about our body. The time, okay? The time that it takes from seed time to harvest and what we do in that time. And then the importance of time in general, not Chronos time, but the time of seasons. So the season to work on the liver, the gallbladder, to cleanse ourselves of the past season, and to begin a new season. So I hope that gives you something to think about, and we'll move on into the next segment in just a few minutes.